Hey Trekkies, welcome back to another Yelling About Star Trek video. My name is Christian Fox, and this is the show where I yell at you about all things Star Trek for your amusement. Today, I want to talk about the new trailer for Star Trek Picard Season 3. Now, as you probably know, this past weekend they dropped a new trailer at Comic-Con, and that trailer didn't give us a lot of information about the actual plot, but we did get a great look at how the crew appears in this new future timeline. And let me tell you, everybody looked fantastic. Let's talk about Dr. Crusher first. I'm loving her new look. I think the gray highlights is fantastic, and I realize I am talking about hair for the 19th time on this channel, but I love hair, so when someone has great hair, I've got to talk about it, and so I love that it's still Dr. Crusher, and she still looks like how we kind of imagine her, but she looks a bit older, obviously, because it's the future, and I love it. I think it looks great. I love Geordi's new look. Geordi has always had a really good beard hair combination. It looks distinguished. I also think it's cool that he mentions that he's a father, which makes me wonder, hey, if he's a father, like he was a father in All Good Things, is there a chance that he's actually married to Dr. Abrams from Booby Trap? Is that possible? He was in All Good Things, so it makes sense. It could happen. So I love it. I think it's so cool, and there's so many things to talk about. And of course, we got to look at the rest of the cast, and I think everybody looks fine. We've already seen Picard, Riker, and Troy, so no surprises there. But the big thing I want to talk about in this trailer is Worf. Worf is back, as we knew he was coming back because everyone was coming back, but we got a look at Worf. And let me just say this to start. I was so relieved that Worf looks like a proper Klingon. I was not a fan of what Disco did when they redesigned the Klingon look. I lost a lot of sleep over it. I'm not a fan, and I was really not psyched about it, especially since Enterprise went out of its way to explain why Klingons look the way that they do, and Disco changed that, so I was very mad. But to see that Worf looks like classic TNG Worf, but a bit older, was amazing. Again, like Geordi, he has an amazing beard. It's distinguished, but the big thing beyond that the makeup looks right were the 4 pips on his collar. And there's only one thing that 4 pips on a collar indicates, and that is Captain. Worf is a captain. I am so happy. I love the idea of Captain Worf. I know Michael Dorn has wanted a Captain Worf show, so we're finally getting Captain Worf. Fantastic. But there are a couple of questions Captain Worf raises. The first question that it raises is, how did Worf become captain after Sisko specifically said to going to make him a captain because of some of the things that he's done and some of the choices that he's made? Well, thinking about the first question, I don't think there's a super elaborate reason as to how Worf became captain. I'm just going to assume that Worf probably did something in the 20 years after DS9 and after Nemesis that really proved to Starfleet that, man, he is a person worthy of command and that he's awesome. And this thing that he did was either super, super amazing or it was super heroic or something like that to get Starfleet to go, whoa, Worf just did this really cool thing. Let's make him a captain. And I know that's not the most realistic thing in the world, but there is precedence because, well, just look at the Voyage Home where Kirk stole the Enterprise, assaulted officers and all the stuff in Search for Spock, and then he saved Earth and the rest of the galaxy, possibly, maybe, not really, by bringing the whales back from the past to the future. And then they were like, hey, we're really happy, we're going to demote you, but you're still captain. So it has happened before. It's a little strange, but it's not unheard of when thinking about Star Trek. And now, the second question, what ship is Worf captaining? Well, the obvious answer is the Enterprise E or F, because it's the Enterprise and we have to have the Enterprise in the show. There's no way they're not bringing the Enterprise back for Star Trek Picard Season 3. There's no way they're not doing it. But I don't think it's the Enterprise. And I'm going to go on record, on camera, and say that he is not commanding the Enterprise, but in fact, he is commanding the USS Defiant. Because honestly, that was the ship that Worf was crazy about. He liked the Enterprise. He thought the Enterprise was a fine ship. But in his heart of hearts, he was a Defiant guy. And I know you're saying, well, that's Sisko's ship. Sisko is Captain of the Defiant. And you're right. But As you might remember, Sisko joined the Prophets at the end of DS9. So there's a very good chance that Sisko is still doing prophet-y things, but is not actually back in full corporeal form doing Starfleet things. So there's a very good chance that Worf could be captain of that ship. And honestly, it fits Worf. If Worf were a ship, he would be the Defiant. Because as we know, the Defiant is built for combat, first and foremost, and has very minimal luxuries, much like Worf. He is a man who lives and breathes combat. He is someone who is ready for a fight. He is someone that wants to engage the enemy in crazy combat and try to save the day. He's not someone who's going to go lounge in a bathtub listening to Yanni for 20 minutes while drinking a glass of wine. That's not Worf. And you can do that on the Enterprise, but you can't do that on the Defiant. So that's why I think he is going to be captain of the USS Defiant. But of course, I could be completely wrong, and he might be captaining a completely different ship that we just haven't heard about before. And as with all trailers, this trailer raised a lot more questions than it actually answered. But fear not, we will get answers to all of those questions sometime in 2023. But what about you? What are your thoughts and predictions on the trailer? Do you think I'm right about Worf? Do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think I'm somewhere in between? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And in the paraphrased words of Captain Kirk, I shall see you out there that-a-way.